Welcome back to this week's edition of Ballaholics. I'm your host, Sam Israel. I am joined once again by my co-host, Ian Mills. And actually today, we have another special guest with us. We got Dez on the show. Dez, great to have you on the show. It's been a minute.
Thank you, Sam.
It's been a while, but unfortunately, no Koosh. Koosh is still gone. So
Just holding out on us. Yeah, he's holding out on us right now.
Koosh is on my list. Koosh is on our list, but hopefully Koosh will get on our episode next week, possibly, or a different episode in the future. But there's a lot to talk about right now. Obviously, there's been so much going on, guys, in the NBA. Obviously, this is a crazy game. The Rockets beat OKC in Game 7, and they're now in the conference semifinals against the Los Angeles Lakers. And that game was crazy. I just want to get you guys' reaction on that game.
Yeah, well, so honestly, I was pretty upset, but I wanted the Thunder to win. I wanted Lou Dort to be the MVP that he was playing like. And then obviously, you can't really blame him. It was a great play by James Harden towards the end.
Everyone's saying like you should have pumped fake, but like what are you gonna do? Like I think that block by Harden's gonna go down as like one of like the craziest, best plays ever, I'd say.
For sure.
I think that was set by Harden because he's not known for his defense.
I was a bit upset that CP3 didn't take the technical free throw and then also didn't get a shot, or at least was starting, because as we saw at last night's game, Kyle Lowry, who was he was the inbounds passer, and he had an absolutely amazing pass to OG. So maybe Chris Paul could have done the exact same thing, but instead they have Shai, who is inexperienced rather, and kind of just panicked. So I was disappointed by it. Great end to the game. I wish the Thunder had won.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad the Rockets won, though. Like, I wish the Thunder won, but I think it's going to be more competitive now that the Rockets won against the Lakers, because I don't think the Thunder would match up well against the Lakers.
Exactly. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that we all knew that, like, OKC was the underdog, and it would have been so cool to see them win, especially seeing Luke Dort put the work on James Harden. I mean, when James Harden – when he was guarding James Harden had like the field goal percentage of like 38%. I think we were talking about it last time, or I was talking about it with Z on the previous episode. He had like a field goal percentage of 28% or 38%, but shooting terribly. And honestly, Luke Dort had 30 points that game, and he erupted. And he was actually, he's known for like more being the defensive stopper on James Harden because he's just that kind of person. He has that combo of like speed and just strength. But James Harden obviously had that clutch block on Luke Dort, because I think if Luke Dort makes that shot, I think that really symbolized the series there, because I don't even know if Houston deserved to win that game. I thought it was more so OKC just choking, because James Harden, he's able to do that. He jumped up and down when Luke Dort threw the ball, but overall, James Harden, that game had a terrible offensive performance. But I'm really happy to see them against the Lakers. But I also have to tip my hat off once again at the same time to Chris Paul, who's 35 years old. And think about this, guys. Imagine being traded away from your old team, and now you have a chance to beat that old team when they have two superstars and they're overwhelmingly the favorite. And meanwhile, you're not even supposed to be in the playoff picture, but here you are taken to a Game 7. So I just thought that was so cool. And it's very upsetting because I thought that last play should have been drawn for Chris Paul, not Daniel Gallinari or whoever it was supposed to be. And I would have liked to see the ball in Chris Paul's hands more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm at the beginning of the season, I think Chris Paul and the Thunder had like a 0.5% chance to make the playoffs, assuming they were going to trade him. But, I'm glad it worked out for them. But this series, the Lakers-Rockets, I don't know about you guys, but I'm hammering the Lakers times a million here. I mean, I think the Rockets might win a game or two, but I don't think it's going to be a close series. I think I'll say Lakers in 5. I'll go Lakers in 6. I'll give the Rockets 2 games, but I don't think they're nearly the team maybe we thought they were coming into the bubble. I think they are a good playoff team, but the Lakers are probably the best team in the West, maybe outside the Clippers.
Ian Mills, I understand why.
Taking the Rockets. Don't tell me you're taking the Rockets.
No, I understand why you're acting like it's not going to be a close game. If I based the Rockets' performances with the Lakers based on their performance against OKC, Houston didn't look like they were playing to their full strength. James Harden was not playing up to his full strength, and we know that. Russell Westbrook, this game he had a good game, the Game 7, but Game 6 he didn't. But you have to take matchups into consideration, Ian. And OKC, they were the best team. Like, they were suited best for Houston because they have Chris Paul, they have Luke Dort, they have a multitude of players that they can lock down on James Harden on the perimeter. But the Los Angeles Lakers, obviously they're the better team, and they have more talent with LeBron James and AD. But when you're playing the Houston Rockets, I feel like if you're Russell Westbrook and James Harden, you're going to play up to your competition. James Harden played really well, actually, offensively, when he wasn't guarded by Luke Dort. Lakers don't have a Luke Dort. They don't have a Chris Paul. So what are you going to do now? You're going to throw you're going to throw Alex Caruso on James Harden and Russell Westbrook? The Lakers don't have many good perimeter defenders that are guards to lock down James Harden and Russell Westbrook. Their strengths are their forward and LeBron James and AD. So obviously AD is going to eat his lunch inside. But who are you throwing on defense on James Harden and Russell Westbrook? They don't have a Luke Dort. You want to throw LeBron James? Good luck. Throw LeBron James and tire him out defensively so he can't do anything offensively. This is going to be a close series. I'm not going to pick the Rockets, obviously, but this is going to be a way better matchup for Houston than the OKC matchup, and I see it going to 6 or possibly even 7 games.
Yeah, I agree with you. Everything, but Ian.
Okay, here's the thing. You're acting like Luke Dort's Defensive Player of the Year. He played well in a 7-game series. Good for him. Happy for the guy. He's an undrafted free agent. It's not like he could be something. You got
to put more respect on Luke Dort's name, Ian. Put more respect on his name.
And you were probably about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, saying that the Trailblazers were going to win in 7. Trailblazers were going to take it to 7. I feel like that's what you were saying. I mean, it's the same thing. We always think, in the bubble, anything can happen, which is true. But the fact that we are trying to convince ourselves that the Lakers aren't going to dominate this series is crazy to me.
No, you know what you're saying? You were the person that was saying, oh, Lillard was playing amazing in the bubble, but it was only the bubble. He's not actually an all-star. Same logic as Luke Dort. Because what, Ian? Like that's just ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
No, they lost in 5. It wasn't a close series. You know what I mean? Like, Damian Lillard.
Of course, it wasn't a close series. It could have been though if Lillard came back after he left the NBA bubble. If he wouldn't have left the NBA bubble, it goes to 6 games, and that was a good series. Obviously, the Blazers lost, but it was a fun series to watch. That first game.
Yeah. I think honestly, I think we're just trying to convince ourselves that the end isn't here with the Rockets. I just you know what I mean. Like I think LeBron and AD are. If I can't imagine a world where they're not in the conference finals. And before I said Rockets in 6, I'm convincing myself. Sorry, not Rockets. The Lakers in 6. I'm convincing myself now. Lakers in 5. Doubling down, putting all my money, putting all my chips down on Lakers in 5.
You better actually bet.
I'll put money down.
Ridiculous. Brandon, Des, what are you saying?
I agree with you, but like honestly, I think we can all agree like who knows what's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm. Could. I mean, it is like the bubble has been weird, but I'm very heavy-handedly taking the Lakers, and I don't think it's going to be maybe the Rockets will get hot one game, and maybe they'll take a game or 2, maybe 2. But
so who do you throw on Harden? Who do you throw on James Harden?
What's that?
Who's playing defense on James Harden?
They'll figure it out. I'm not worried about it. Avery Bradley?
Figure it out.
Avery Bradley.
He'll cook you for 40 points.
You're going to be bad.
What's that?
Just like he did in the regular season. Ian and Des, I don't know if you knew this, but did you know that the Rockets actually took the regular season series against the Lakers? It was 2-1. Russell Westbrook averaged 38 points in that regular season series. James Harden went off for like 40 points one game. So look, if the Lakers had Avery Bradley maybe in the bubble, maybe the Lakers win easily because then they have Danny Green at that point and Avery Bradley. But because they don't have Avery Bradley because he is absent on the Lakers rotation and they don't even have Rajon Rondo, I just don't know how you're going to stop these guards on Houston. I don't know how you're going to stop James Harden and Russ Westbrook from eating their lunch. Ultimately, AD is going to be too much inside because he's too good, but I just don't know how you stop those two.
Yeah, the Rockets don't even have a shot blocker. They don't have a big man. So,
Sam,
that's also true.
Sam, answer me this. You don't believe in Dion Waiters and J.R. Smith? Defensive Players of the Year candidates? I trust them.
Wait, was that a joke? Are you messing with me or you're serious? So you're telling me that Dion Waiters and J.R. Smith are going to lock down Russell Westbrook and James Harden. So you're going to throw J.R. Smith on James Harden.
Clamps.
Yeah. Look at yourself, Ian. Look at yourself. Des, can you believe this? Oh, I wish we had Kush on the show.
Who would agree with me? That's facts.
Oh,
He's been hanging out with Kuz too much.
he would not agree with you. I'm sorry. I'm not going to put J.R. Smith. I'm not throwing J.R. Smith on James Harden. Maybe there's a free throw. If I'm versing a team and I get to choose the other team, one of the players on the other team to shoot a free throw with 2 seconds left in the game, maybe I'll choose J.R. Smith. Because I know he'll miss it, or he'll miss it and then he'll grab the ball and run all the way to half court. But I don't know about defense with J.R. Smith.
J.R. Smith slander. He did nothing wrong. I just said he
I'm not doing this. I'm done. The Rockets were the only team also, Ian, to have they beat the Lakers multiple games by 10 points. So let's just get on. We're going to move on to our next segment because I can't listen to you anymore, Ian. Just talk about J.R. Smith and Dion Waiters. I'm losing brain cells as I speak. So let's just go on. Let's talk about the other matchup going on in the Eastern Conference, actually the other number 1 seed, and that is the Milwaukee Bucks. And a lot of us had the Milwaukee Bucks beating the Miami Heat, and they were going to advance to the conference finals. But Miami's giving them trouble. They dropped the past 2 games to Miami Heat. The Heat are now up 2-0. Des and Ian, in your opinions, do you think the Bucks are finished?
I think they're finished. They only have Giannis, nobody else. He needs his Robin. He needs his Pippen.
Yeah, as
They're just done.
Richard Jefferson was saying. I'm confused. Like, the fact that I know we've talked about it a million times.
They don't have an identity.
Yeah.
Like, the Heat have an identity. Like, they're going to work hard. They're going to grind. The Bucks, it's just Giannis is just going to drive. And if he can't, what else?
The fact that Giannis isn't covering Jimmy Butler right now is baffling. It's confusing, especially because Jimmy Butler had 40 in the first game. I think, probably the Heat will win the series. I think the Bucks will get I think Bucks might extend the series to 6. And if they're lucky, maybe 7. But I would say the Heat will take the series. But either way, my favorite coming out of the East would be the Celtics. I think the Celtics will be either of those teams going into the conference finals. But this series, as Des was saying, I think it'll be very hard for the Bucks to actually come back from a deficit. Where you saw the body language from Giannis last game, he just looked distraught. He looked down, and I can't blame him. I'm not saying it's all on him because obviously it isn't, but he is the best player on the team, and it's not particularly close. He's the best player in the Eastern Conference, and it's not close. So he's MVP Defensive Player of the Year, and he's covering Wesley Matthews. You know what I mean? It's not Wesley Matthews. I'm sorry, Andre Iguodala. It's baffling.
Mm-hmm. It's too bad. It's really too bad because before in the last episode, I said my heart wants to choose Milwaukee, and I ended up overriding my logic because when I did my SAM statistical research, I thought logically, based on what I do when I look up the notes, I look at all the research, the Heat were going to win. The Heat were the best matchup because you just have so many defenders that you can throw on Giannis. There's no weak link. Literally, if you watch the game, the Heat have no weak link. Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn, Duncan Robinson, they're the snipers. They're going to shoot the 3-pointers. You have your superstar, Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, although he's not a Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's not an MVP level kind of player. He increases his level of performance in clutch moments. Giannis Antetokounmpo, he hasn't been doing that. And even if you look at Game 1, I knew that the Milwaukee Bucks, there was trouble spelled out for them in Game 1 when Chris Middleton had 28 points and Brook Lopez had 24 points. They had a good amount of points, and they still lost. Because the fact that the whole thing about Giannis is, okay, well, Giannis Antetokounmpo, he can't do it alone. He needs to have his Robin. And that's the whole narrative going on right now, like Ian, like you alluded to before with Richard Jefferson. But Brook Lopez and Chris Middleton came through in Game 1, and they still lost that Game 1. And then Game 2 came, and you already knew it was only a matter of time. They were in Game 2, but once again, it wasn't enough. So I really don't know how Milwaukee can come back down 2-0 when they're playing well. Especially when you look in Game 1, their other players are playing well, but they're just not winning. So I think that Eric Spoelstra is just out-coaching Mike Budenholzer. If you put Eric Spoelstra on the Milwaukee Bucks, if you threw Eric Spoelstra in as their head coach, I'm sure Eric Spoelstra would find a way to beat the Miami Heat using the Milwaukee Bucks. So I really think it comes down to a coaching game, and I think that Eric Spoelstra is completely out-coaching Mike Budenholzer on the Milwaukee Bucks.
I don't think Mike Budenholzer is necessarily a bad coach, but I mean it is troubling.
Why isn't he throwing Giannis on Jimmy Butler? Why hasn't that happened yet?
I mean,
That's a coaching decision.
That is a coach decision, but that is one of those things where first off, Giannis shouldn't be offended by a question. Like that should be for the defense player of the year. It should be the expectation that he's on them. And then sure, yeah, maybe like Coach Bud wants me playing on offense, whatever. But like when down the stretch on the first game one, when Jimmy Butler is torching their defense, Giannis needs to take that stick and just say, you know what, I'm gonna cover this guy who's scoring 40 on Wesley Matthews right now, and it's troubling, you know what I mean? And for a team to be the first seed and have the best record in basketball, regardless of maybe they don't have a good enough team, maybe they don't have a second superstar, but Miami might not have. I mean, Jimmy Butler is top 15, maybe top 10 player, but he's not remotely like talent. Like we've never been like Jimmy Butler MVP. You know what I mean? Like they're just a well-rounded roster that's just outplaying the MVP right now.
Ian, Jimmy Butler, game 2, he only had like 13 points.
Yeah.
13 points he had game 2. No one is talking about Jimmy Butler only having 13 points in game 2 because they won.
Right.
The fact that your superstar player can have 13 points and you still win in game 2, and then in game 1, the Milwaukee Bucks, second and third best player, were in the 20s in points scored, and they still lost. I think the Miami Heat are bound to blow them out even game 3 or game 4. Maybe I'd give the Bucks one game, but I think Milwaukee's eliminated in 5 games, and I think that Milwaukee really needs to just analyze their roster again, reevaluate their players. It's really unfortunate, too, because I think Chris Middleton's a great player, but I just think that they lack that one player who can score buckets for himself. I think Middleton's trying to emerge into that player, and he's not bad at that. But if they would have kept Malcolm Brogdon last season, I think he could have been that player. So it's very frustrating. You know, when you look at the front office, you look at the head coach, just the team in general, that they cannot get past this Miami Heat team, which in my opinion, they're not even a top 2 seed in the East right now. You know, top 2 team. I think the Celtics, like you said, Ian, are better than Miami Heat. So it's very upsetting.
Yeah, I think the fact that they pretty much essentially chose Eric Bledsoe over Malcolm Brogdon is looking back on it, is head scratching.
I always knew it made no sense. It made no sense.
I mean, yeah. You know, at the time, Eric Bledsoe was probably a borderline all-star, and not that he's like awful, but he's not panned out. Well, I think that's a safe way to say it. But also the fact that the Bucks fired the general manager that drafted Giannis is, I mean, it's just looking back at the pieces, because now it feels like it's kind of over. Like obviously the series isn't over, and Giannis still has another year with the Bucks. But looking back at it, looking retrospectively, it's like, wow, the Bucks didn't do a very good job.
He's another year.
I believe so. Yeah, he's another year.
You know, like, I think overall, like, they have a good roster. I think Brook Lopez, you know, the strategy was surrounding Giannis with shooters, so Giannis can drive inside and you can dish it out to your shooters. But I think Chris Middleton's great. I think Brook Lopez is great. But they made that just egregious error, just not signing Brogdon and instead choosing Bledsoe, which you said he didn't pan out. I don't agree with him not panning out. He's always been a good player. He's a solid player, but he's just never been that second star player. So I think that naturally, like, you should have known Eric Bledsoe's ceiling. You should have known Eric Bledsoe's ceiling. What were you saying, Ian?
Yeah, and Brogdon's not the second star either, but he is
he could be. He's averaging 20 right now in Indiana.
I would say he
was rookie of the year a couple years ago. Yeah, well, he has like potential.
He was like a 20.
He still has potential, Malcolm Brogdon.
I don't know. I wouldn't say he's a second star. I'd say he's a very good, very, very good player. But I would rather have him than Eric Bledsoe for sure. But
Bucks are just like one player away from like
kind of feels
championship.
Yeah, Sam, in a year, are you ready to be heartbroken in the year when Giannis doesn't sign with the Knicks?
You know, I'm not doing this. I don't. You know, look, you guys want to talk for 2 minutes about the Knicks while I just go outside and just take a walk, because I'm not doing this again. I don't understand why we always do this. You guys enjoy this, and it's really Ian's fault. Ian will deliberately bring up the Knicks because he knows it upsets me. He knows deep down he can like get to me, and it's not fair. So don't do that.
Mike Woodson, it's over.
Woodson's good. But we're not. There's no reason. We were having a nice, civil, informative discussion about the series with the Miami Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks, and there was no reason at all, Ian. And I admit this. There was no reason at all to bring up the Knicks.
Can you be honest with me for a second?
There was no reason to.
I'll talk about the Knicks forever.
Apologize.
How many times, like, the past like, couple of days of this series, you've been tossing and turning and thinking about, Giannis and MSG. Giannis in blue and white. I know it's –
He's not going to the Knicks. I
I
feel
know
like
you're
he's going to
thinking
stay
about
with the Bucks.
it'll be tough. This is just question for another day. I can see Sam's visibly upset, and you know what? If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. That's what I've always said.
Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin.
Ain't no stopping, Obi topping.
MVP. Knicks.
All right, I think
MVP next year.
He's my least favorite player of all time.
Sorry, Sam. Didn't mean to offend you there.
it's okay, Ian. It's okay. I mean, you got your Sacramento Kings, so, you know.
Hey,
I'm sorry they're not in the NBA bubble. I'm sorry they're not doing that well.
And
I apologize. I know that when your team's not in the NBA bubble, you have to bring the other person's team down too. Unfortunately, you can't bring the New York Knicks down because they're already as down as you can get. They can't, they can only go down a certain amount. They're already, in the mantle. They're already in the mantle and Earth's core. They can't get any more down. So we're done with the Knicks. The Sacramento Kings, don't worry. We know how bad the Kings are. So that's all I care about. So.
It's fine. I'm not worried about it. Sam, I'd rather be a Blue Jays fan than a Yankees fan. That's all I'll say. And I think that's all right.
Wait, Des, can you tell me how many World Series championships the Yankees have?
I don't know, but a lot. I know that.
Yeah. Do you know how many the Blue Jays have?
Multiple. This year, are you including the future of what's going to happen this year? Because if so,
no,
then
I don't include future predictions in how many World Series championships I have. No, I don't. I actually count how many there are right now. You know what I'm saying? Because imagine if I did that as a Knicks fan, I was like, yo, look how many free agents we signed. We signed Kevin Durant. We're gonna sign LeBron. We're gonna sign Kawhi. Imagine if I did that for the Knicks.
What's the Yankees' record in the last 14 games?
Wait, how many championships have the Yankees won in the past 100 years?
100 years? Come on, we're talking about Babe Ruth. You're gonna bring up
27?
Right now?
20 what? 27?
What was it?
27.
ALS. What's his name?
Now I'm looking up how many of the Blue Jays won.
I don't know anything.
I don't know. All right, good talk, Sam.
Let's see. How many did the Blue Jays won? Oh,
won two.
They only won 2?
Yeah.
Wow. Look at this. We went completely off topic, But Ian, listen, if you're gonna go after my Knicks, you're gonna go after my Yankees. Just get ready. Blue Jays have 2. The Yankees have 27.
Yeah, they're all from Babe Ruth era.
Yeah. That's sure. Keep telling yourself that. That makes you sleep better at night. That's fine. All right, guys. Obviously now you hear us just rambling on. Just doing our trash talking. You got Ian Mills, who's the upstate New York guy. Okay, I'm done.
Rumor. Melo and CP3.
8th seed next year, baby.
Oh, actually, what are they? That's the saddest thing.
They're getting swept by the Bucks next year. All right, Sam, it was been a pleasure. Thanks for having us.
See you guys next week.
See ya.